What's up guys, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to take a look at the refreshed Steam Deck after about 8 to 10 hours of gameplay. Let's get into it. Both Steam Decks are running Cryo utilities with 4 gigabytes of VRAM. Also, in the BIOS, the wattage is set to 15 watts. Brightness is set to 100% while playing Miles Morales on medium settings 800p. Steam Deck above is the OLED and below is the LCD. Right out of the gate, the OLED is clearly a better picture, better color saturation, deeper blacks. There's less of a hazy, a fogginess to the screen, in my opinion. The OLED Steam Deck above is the 1TB version with the etched glass. In my opinion, it's important to have that one because OLEDs are notorious for severe glares. So in my opinion, it's worth it, plus the extra 1TB storage is nice to have. In darker scenes, the black levels are more noticeable, where the LCD seems more of a grayish black and the OLED has a deeper black. So this is a problem, but not really. Viewing angles. The OLED crushes the LCD in viewing angles. Not necessarily needed though, because the Steam Deck is always going to be dead in front of you. But you can clearly see the difference between the two, and there is no contest. Let's talk about screen size. So 0.4 inches is not very much. In millimeters, I measured from side to side, up and down is about extra 4 millimeters from the OLED to the LCD. On paper, it's not a huge increase, but in person, in hand, it is. For me, the extra 0.4 inches does give you a more immersive gameplay. Surprisingly enough, my wife was able to notice the difference in screen size. She's not a gamer or a tech enthusiast like me, so take that for what it is. Another huge thing I noticed was power draw. The OLED is about 25% more efficient than the LCD. Remember, the brightness is set to 100, OLED above 21 watts, below LCD 27 watts. About a 6-watt difference between the two. But what does that really mean in real world context? I think this is the best way to illustrate it. Both Steam Decks are at 84% battery life. I've just plugged both of them in. Up above is the OLED and below is the LCD. Both are roughly the same power percentage, but it is going to take 15 to 16 extra minutes to charge the LCD, even though they're both at the same power level and the OLED has a larger battery. I am not aware if they changed the charge controller on the OLED. I wouldn't be surprised if they did, but the more efficient screen and the more efficient APU allows the larger battery OLED to charge quicker and disperse its power more sparingly than the LCDs. And if that didn't drive it home, take a look at this. Both are at full charges, and the OLED Steam Deck has nearly an extra hour of gameplay than the LCD version. There you have it. After 8 to 10 hours of gameplay, it is better than I expected, to be honest. And the reason why I would say better than I expected is because that staying screen looks so good in such a small form factor. The OLEDs are perfect for small displays like that because you can get away with a lot lower resolution and obviously the better battery life and the less amount of heat because of that better battery life. Remember, I think this thing is about 25% more efficient than the LCD version. So 25% more efficient means 25% 25% more battery life and 25% less heat. So just think about it that way. It is pretty amazing how they have reworked the whole thing. Yes, it would have been nicer if it had more power, but you got to remember, it's like there's trade-offs to this thing. There's just trade-offs to this thing. That custom APU was meant to run just SteamOS, and it makes sense to me. It's all about power efficiency, right? How much bang for your buck can you get for power and usage, including heat? And the fact is, if you go with the Z1 processors, you're gonna put out a lot more heat. You're gonna draw a lot more power, and then what's gonna happen is the steam gets bigger and it gets hotter. And they were trying to stay away from that. And they made a perfect upgrade by just changing the screen, because that resolution of 800 to 720p on that tiny screen is beautiful. So you can dumb down all the settings. It doesn't even really matter when you dumb down the settings. Honestly, one thing I didn't mention is FSR is always off for me. It looks like a mess, in my opinion. AMD's FSR is trash. I don't even like NVIDIA's very much, to be honest. And I think it has to do with your resolution and, you know, your frame rate and things like that, and the type of screen you use. But for me, I never like to use it. I'll just turn down I'll take less frames for a clearer picture or clear-ish picture. So that's it. But I guess the big question is, was it worth the upgrade? Because I spent my own hard-earned money on this bad boy, and was it worth it? After about 8 to 10 hours of gameplay, honestly, I'm gonna have to say yes. I'm gonna have to say yes, mainly because of the use case, because I use it 99% on the couch or in bed, and SteamOS runs so well of just like pause and play, meaning I can turn it off, put it down, come back to it 2-3 hours the next day. It'll be an exact same scene. I'll lose a little bit of battery life, but for the most part, I can just pick up and go where I left off. And I think that is a beautiful thing that SteamOS does. Yes, you can do it on Windows, but it doesn't work very well on Windows. I didn't have a great experience of it when I was using the Ally. And yes, the Ally and the Legion can run all of those SteamOS stuff and every single game on Windows, and that much better. But for me, for the most part, I'm playing the games I buy on Steam, and for the most part, the ones that work on the Steam Deck. And if the ones that don't, I plug it into my GPU, or I go into my main rig in the attic. And luckily right now, most of the games that I want to play can play on SteamOS. But don't let that be a takeaway for you to not get the Ally or not get the Legion, because the reason why I didn't get either one of those is because the Ally is too uncomfortable and I don't want to run Windows. And the same thing goes with the Legion. Even though I haven't tried it, I don't want to run on Windows. I want to be on OS. Because if I was going to be on Windows, I would be on my main desktop or attached to my external GPU in my Steam Deck rig or my main rig. You know, that's what I would do. And that's why I think the cool controllers that the Legion has is great and all, but it's still not my use case. That's why it was an easy no-brainer for me. Once they announced this OLED version of the Steam Deck, then I'm going to go to OLED version of Steam Deck. And I do not regret it. I do not regret it. I think if you're on the fences, definitely just go for it, because it's just going to increase your experience gaming handheld. And I don't know if you're like me, but you know, when I get busy, I don't have as much time to game because the main rig is in a separate area. The gaming room is in the attic, and I go there and I game 2, 3, 4 hours at a time. But I'm just busier now with life and the kid and, you know, work and things like that. It's much harder to just take away 2-3 hours in one sitting to go up there and game. Whereas on the Steam Deck, I can literally do 30 minutes here, put it down, take care of some stuff, and then pick it back up where I left off. And I think that's the beauty of the Steam Deck. And I think with that nicer HDR OLED 100 nit screen, that it just makes the experience so much better than a, you know, Legion or Ally with, you know, with their better, quote unquote, better screens that you can't even run those hertz unless you dumb it down to 7. It's just not worth it, in my opinion, for my use case. But don't let that deter you. If you want to get as much power as you can in a handheld, you go for it. You go for it. But for me, I like elegance. I like balance. So that's just my take on it. If you have any questions, comments, concerns about the OLED, any key differences between the two, hit me up. For the most part, it is pretty much the same system. The controllers feel the same. No issue there. Grip, the shell, case, everything is pretty much the same. It's just that screen, the power consumption. They're just really good upgrades, and I'm very happy that Valve did them that way, because it works. It works. But other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.